Okay, so let's talk about plagiarism. Plagiarism is something you've probably heard before. I've heard it millions of times in my writing courses because they emphasize plagiarism heavily because it is known as academic dishonesty, because plagiarism is you're trying to take someone else's work and pass it off as your own, which is unfair. And honestly, it's something that is very common. And something that I did not know about plagiarism is that you could do it accidentally. You may not even mean to take someone else's work and try to pass it off as your own, but because, let's say, for example, you're writing a paper and you come to this one section where you get this information, you're like, okay, this fits here. I'll come back to it. I'll fix it later. I'll add the source later. And then you finish your paper and it slips your mind. You forget. You no longer go back to that source. You don't remember to cite that source. So now you accidentally plagiarized. And now that's really important to not do that, because they use a lot of sites like turnitin.com where they're checking to see if you plagiarize, and it could look really bad on you. And some professors are very unforgiving when it comes to this because they expect you to go back and check your work. So this is something that I feel like a lot of people struggle with or don't know or don't mean to, but it accidentally happens. And another thing is, when you're going and getting this information from sources, it's really important to keep track. That's something that I found very useful for me, and it's better to do as you go. So as you're writing your speech, as you're writing your paper, it's really important to keep track of, this is my source, this is the information that I'm taking from my source, and this is how I'm citing my source. And then that kind of kills two birds with one stone, because you are basically having your works cited page done, and you're also making sure that you're going back and tracking that you are citing in your speech and in your papers where this information is being pulled from. So even though you don't use direct quotes, it's still important to cite that this is a source, this information is being rephrased by you, and that you are still saying that this is where the information is coming from. So that's why I think it's really important to, as you're writing any paper, any speech, go through the information. Make sure that you are citing, make sure that your information is aligning, because that makes your paper more reliable, because you are saying, I understood the information given from this source, and this is how I'm phrasing it. This is how it's working for my work. This is how it's making sense. And your paper comes out reliable, you get a good grade, and you're not plagiarizing. So this is just something that I found useful for me. Many people find their different ways, but it really helps you to make sure that you're not plagiarizing, because you don't want to seem like an unreliable source by taking someone else's information and trying to pass it off as your own. All right, thank you.